I'm going to be talking to you, Frank, about one of my favorite films, and that's Galaxy Quest. And that was in my top 10 film listing. But before I go, I just want to say something really quickly about names. Like your name, Frank. If you're Frank, you're direct and you're to the point, which we hope you're going to be today. In England, they like to say Bob's your uncle because that means something is very simple. In the 50s, people used to say things were George, which meant they were really good. And when things are fair and even, then they are even Steven. But my favorite of all time is Shirley. You agree with me? And the reply is, yes, I agree with you, but don't call me Shirley.
All right.
When your mom lets you get to watch Airplane, you'll understand what I just did there. But we're going to talk about Galaxy Quest, and that's what leads into a little humor. When you saw it, Frank, what did you think of the movie?
So in general, I liked it. I liked how like everything just was. Like I liked the setup and how they just didn't understand what was going on. I also liked the Thermians.
Yeah.
There's like
yeah, I love them too. I love them too. They were actually based on marionettes from the famous Thunderbirds and Supercar. Like one, you'll have to watch Thunderbirds.
Neither do I, Frank.
To his homework list.
Yeah,
you also don't need to watch the new one or the
newer
movie.
We just want to go back to the 1960s Thunderbirds. Yeah, I loved everything about the movie, but when you went to the convention with your mom, did you notice a reality that was in the movie that appears at a convention? Did it seem like you could tie in the two together? Like, oh, I can see the actors there signing autographs begrudgingly, like the main character did.
Yeah, I could see that.
Really? They seem to be happy to. So, I mean, I feel like back in the day of conventions, you'd run into the actor that was begrudgingly signing. I felt like the convention at Shore Leave, everyone seemed to be.
But they were like all jolly and stuff.
Yeah.
But then they were at the end, they were just like, they just were sad. Like when they went backstage, they were just.
Maybe because the show was over.
Are you talking about? Are we talking about the real life convention?
The movie.
Oh, the movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Gotcha. Yeah.
But in real life, I could. I'd see them being happy to be there.
Absolutely.
And then some could be like.
Okay. Well, as Uncle John told us in a previous podcast, it's the dog and pony shows, and they have to put those on. But I've been to a lot of conventions. And I've always found that the actors there are, like you said, they're jolly. They enjoy meeting with the fans, and they don't begrudgingly do it. Did you notice? Now you've watched Star Trek with your mom. Did you notice a lot of similarities in the movie to the Star Trek series?
All I could really notice, well, the ships looked like they had like kind of the same design. There was all the diversity. Well, not much, but there was a lot of diversity between like the aliens and stuff. I don't think they had transporters.
No.
Yeah, they had those bubble pod things.
Well, they did have the ability to transport from the Earth so they were actually transwarp, I guess you'd say, because they were traveling at greater than the speed of light to get to wherever the Thermians lived. And they did actually have a transporter in it, but you're not like we have seen in Star Trek where it's ship to ship or ship to planet. I
did like the bubble. Like they just had to go fast.
That was pretty funny too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was your favorite? What was the funniest part of the movie, Frank? What do you remember laughing at the most?
I think it was when like the main character, he thought that the Thermians were just like some cosplayers asking him to like take a picture or record, and he just didn't notice that. Yeah.
That was great. That was great.
Yeah. You know, it's sometimes referred to as the greatest Star Trek film ever made. and it's
Right,
not a Star Trek
exactly.
movie. And I when I first saw it in the theater, I just laughed. And as a tie-in, the 3-letter code for the ship was the NTE, which meant not the Enterprise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mhm. So they knew what they were doing, but they didn't want it to be completely obvious that they were riffing on Star Trek.
Did you get that is what the movie was about? It was like a parody of Star Trek.
I kind of saw it, but not really. No.
But now that we're
Okay.
telling you
But
this,
yes, I can.
is it putting a lot in? Do we have to go rewatch the movie now?
We might.
We might.
That's not a bad thing to do.
Right. That's not an issue.
No, there's
Dina,
now-
I'm so jealous. Your kid is saying, "Let's go watch Galaxy Quest." I was gonna say Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest.
Quest.
I'm so jealous. I'm using the word with
that's
everything
it.
else.
Exactly. Yeah. But besides that, was there any particular character you said like who you like the most? To me, I love the character that Tony Shalhoub played, the engineer who was completely clueless about everything and
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, he didn't care and he was like whatever, man.
Yeah, like everyone else is scared out of their minds at that bubble warp thing, and then he comes in. Is he eating popcorn or something? He goes, "That was a heck of a thing," like
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
that's
Yeah.
hysterical.
Yes. And then the actor Sam Rockwell, he played the fellow of Guy, and he was the one guy who gets on an episode and is dead in the first like 5 minutes. The perennial red shirt that's always in a Star Trek show. So again, the tie-in is right there.
Did you notice? Did we talk? I feel like we did talk about this when we watched it. Did you notice that Dwight Schrute was one of the
Yes.
aliens
Yeah.
in the movie for like just a brief time?
You mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I see it.
He's watched a little bit of The Office with me.
Oh,
too.
nice. That's
okay, so
cool.
that's
We have to
good.
have an office conversation sometime then.
So, Frank, I'm really curious, buddy. Okay. If you could be any one of these people in Galaxy Quest, it could be the crew, it could be the bad guys, it could be any of the aliens or the kids down on the Earth that are the fans, super fans that help save the day at the end. If you could pick one character in this film that you would like to be, if you had the chance, who would it be?
I feel like I'd probably want to be like one of the main characters, but
One of the humans or one of the aliens?
maybe one of the aliens.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Why?
Like
They've
'cause
got
I'm
cooler
it.
technology.
They do. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, depending on which alien we're talking about here, you're an octopus and then you're a human. Like you could change shapes. That's kind of cool.
Well, wait, were they changing shapes or was it just like a kind of a visual,
I
a hologrammy kind of thing? I thought it was a
I
hologram.
think
Either way, it's
Yeah,
cool. Either way, it's
yeah,
cool.
that's
Either
true.
way, it's cool.
Yeah, the Thermians end up just being like blobs.
Well, they were like these octopusy thingies,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
thought it was because when we saw them, I thought it was like whatever their projector wasn't working.
right. And that's they said that
Okay.
about that's what happened when they first, I guess, when they transport everybody up to the spacecraft and they come in and they're all the
I
aliens.
stand
and,
corrected,
oh, we
everybody.
forgot to.
Jeez,
You
calling
know.
me out.
Kid knows his stuff. Kid knows his stuff.
Well, that's a good choice, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Good choice.
Yeah. And this brought up one of our prior podcasts. We talked about the ability of aliens and how these are so important. But since octopus are so smart and they can grab with their tentacles, that the Thermians, because they had suction cups, could easily pick up tools and assemble a spacecraft of such magnitude. So yeah, that's very interesting.
They could just lay their hands on something. then they haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Any other thoughts about Galaxy Quest you'd like to share with us, Frank? Okay, just this is your chance to be totally frank with us.
Oh, I
it's
see what you did there.
brutal. Eh.
Yeah.
I think that's basically all.
Okay.
Hey,
Very good.
thank
Well,
you,
I'm
Frank.
glad you enjoyed the movie. It's been a perennial top 10 of mine, and thanks for sharing what your thoughts with us, Frank.
You're welcome.